Though not all of us might have this backstory that we can share with the focus of this movie, we can certainly relate, I'm sure, if we've heard stories like this, perhaps in our general vicinity or from entertainment fare or storytelling on television that we've seen. You might be familiar with people's stories who have been, they come from an adoption background where they didn't necessarily have, I mean, some might, but you might have some kids that are raised in, with a family that might come to realize, later and learn that they were adopted. And so you might have kids then that have that yearning to go and meet their original parents. I mean, I imagine that being a very understandable emotion and quite a resonant one. So I'm sure this project will definitely catch eyes. I mean, it's a strong pitch, in my opinion. And again, that's sort of the baseline of the work as I provided. But to give you a better perspective, I guess, on the specifics of this project, Return to Seoul. And I do like, by the way, how this is sort of expanding, because at least many of the stories that I know happen to be, kids that have grown up in, not really, I'm trying to think if there's any stories I know personally. I mean, I tend to know a lot of people actually that have been in the foster care system that have had this type of story, but I don't know if any of them have expressed a pursuit to go and search for their families. But I've come across stories, and what I've watched, even as a kid, where you have adults that, well, at the time they were kids, but when they grow up, they're like, I want that experience of meeting my biological parents. I would imagine it's going to be a very resonant story, but when I think about it, again, we can all relate, I'm sure, if we're in America, but the stories I'm thinking of are all localized, right? And they might just be, kids looking for parents in another state. What about other countries? That's what Return to Seoul is. This is the pitch as provided by IMDb. A 25-year-old French woman returns to Korea, the country she was born in before being adopted by a French couple for the very first time. She decides to track down her biological parents, but her journey takes a surprising turn. I mean, that really does sound inspiring. This is a Sony Pictures Classics issue, I believe. I'm pretty sure, and that might have the name slightly wrong, and I'll correct it if necessary. I would imagine this, again, is going to be a very strong film, especially on the emotional appeal. I don't know how it's debuting in terms of a wide watch. It's currently going through the award circuit. It's really been in many different circuits. I think it's got a couple more to go. But it's getting a lot of attention. Even the main poster that I've pulled up, you can reference, I believe that's the Cannes logo. So it's obviously gotten attention from prestige outlets. And people are watching it, and obviously it's getting some good regard. And I would, again, easily believe that reading the synopsis. I mean, we'll see what this girl's journey is. I mean, she's raised, I guess, in France. I mean, there could be a cultural shift, too, in terms of, that's sort of the country. I mean, again, I don't know how extensive this was. Maybe her family, and we'll see if this is true. Maybe the family she was raised in, perhaps they tried and, to the best of their ability, preserved that Korean heritage. I'm not exactly sure. Some of them, maybe this girl grew up with some exposure, or maybe it was entirely, she's accustomed to the French atmosphere. And so when she's considering going and seeing her family in Korea, if she's searching for her family, I guess, there's that cultural learning period where she has to, come across different customs and traditions and perhaps even the language. This could be quite deep. I mean, again, I'm just kind of going for my presumptions right now. Let's add a trailer to this mix and see maybe where my thoughts are correct. And perhaps maybe there's room for growth. But again, that emotional experience, I'm sure, will appeal to many people. Let's go ahead and take a look at this. So there's that, again, learning, okay.
I don't know yet, but 3 nights.
So it's a cultural introduction.
Mais vous êtes française?
I mean, that could be, again, quite... I mean, I can only imagine the experience, but having the opportunity to get introduced to another culture and having that learning period, I'm sure that would be, fascinating for people to experience. And some level of devotion to it and excitement.
Mais je suis française.
T'es aussi un peu coréenne.
Votre prénom de naissance est Yeon-hee. On pourrait dire docile et joyeuse.
What a sweet name.
Ton père, il a toujours pensé à toi.
Il y a des signes partout qu'on voit pas parce qu'on sait pas les reconnaître. Faut savoir évaluer les dangers et paf, se jeter à l'eau.
Like I said, it sounds really sweet.
Mais t'es fou!
Again, you and me.
Okay. Well, she's, what's the term I'm looking for? bilingual. I think it's 2 languages with Ariana Ferd.
Je me suis toujours posé la même question.
I'm assuming she's going to try and maybe learn Korean.
Ma mère a une pensée pour moi.
I don't know. Maybe she already had the introduction. Again, I'm not sure.
널 위해서
I can only predict.
하는 게 제일 좋은 건가 고민하다가
Il faut savoir ne pas regarder derrière soi.
Je pourrais t'effacer de ma vie d'un claquement de doigts, tu sais.
Ceci, tout ceci est ma terre d'amour.
Votre mère est arrivée.
I would imagine the field of people, that are interested in real stories like that. Like I said, it's a very emotionally sensitive journey. And I would imagine for people who perhaps have had this experience themselves, this is a project that will easily resonate. It might even make you tear up. I mean, I can only relate, again, on the experiences that I am aware of and what I've been told. I don't have a direct connection to this. So for me, it's the emotions that pull me in and the realistic vision of the presentation. And I would say the vision of a storytelling, it's quite exquisite, filmed very well. Quality production. We'll see how easily, people flock to it. I mean, I don't know. Again, I'm wondering what the field of vision is going to be upon release. Because right now, all we have to go on are award circuit affiliations. Is this going to get an online distribution? Is it going to be like a direct-to-DVD or streaming? I'm not exactly sure. Because Sony doesn't have a direct streaming service. So I would imagine if this goes anywhere, it would be... Well, they do have a streaming deal with Netflix, I believe. It could be carried there. Possibly. I don't know. Again, most of this, in terms of what I'm looking at with this project, is built on speculation, other than what I can see from the trailer. And as I said, based on that pitch, you knew it would be an effective release, I'm sure. And if it's getting all that awards attention, there's some regard. And it's deserved. It's a beautiful presentation. And I think for this woman, her journey might speak to a lot of people. In, of course, many different cultures. You don't necessarily have to be raised in France or have Korean heritage to understand the journey of his character. It's a very relatable experience, even for somebody like myself who doesn't have this particular story, but relishes the opportunity to learn about people's walks through life, or just see that human, or just to find that human connection in emotion. It's a very sentimental journey, and I think it's beautifully told, in my opinion. So, the awards regard does not surprise me at all. One of your guys' thoughts with Return to SEOUL, or Seoul, I'm not for certain on the pronunciation. Forgive me if I'm wrong on that. I tried to correct. I think it's Seoul. Let me know down below. Let me know what the correct pronunciation is if you're so inclined. I welcome any criticism in that regard, because I am trying to best accustom myself with correct pronunciations, and sometimes it's hard. Sometimes you end up guessing, but I think I'm right on that. As far as I'm concerned with this project, I think it's beautifully told. It's beautifully illustrated, very exquisite, and very relatable. It really seems like a wonderful feature. And in comparison to some of the other fare that I've covered on this channel, I've spoken before about film fare pertaining to, well, this is largely centered around Korea. Their entertainment's division, in terms of their art, really impresses me. This is a bit of a different release. I mean, there's a bit of a twist to it, again, because this girl was raised in France, and she's accustoming herself to Korea as a culture and a relatable experience because of her family and where they're situated. So it's not the same in other fare from what I've covered, because it doesn't have that Korean publication basis, but it's sort of connected. It's just different in style, because most of the other things I've covered are fantasy works, action stuff, some other awards fare, but they're different types of stories. This is a very relatable one, very human, grounded, realistic, and I think one that resonates quite well. It's a memorable project. I can, again, see why it's getting such flowered regard. And I would imagine for many people who are considering the prospect of watching Return to Seoul and looking at the trailer, that really spoke to you, especially if you're somebody who has a similar experience to this. I would imagine you're humoring the possibility of watching it. I mean, I can't speak for you, but I can only guess. But based on how I feel about it, I would imagine that I'm on the same page with many of you. It's a very beautiful project, and I will definitely consider watching it whenever it releases. However it releases, I will be keeping an eye on that for sure. Thank you so much for watching this video. Before you bounce, feel free to drop a like and comment, subscribe to this channel with a ding on the bell, and share this video with your friends. And consider checking out the description here. There you'll find links to my other channels, as well as addresses to my other social media accounts and ways you can help support my work if you feel so inclined. May God bless you, and looking forward to when our paths cross again.